If you wake up thinking about this every morning, it's time to make a change. You wake up every morning with a sense of unease. It's not a feeling that is immediately obvious, but lingers in your thoughts. You wonder what the day holds, but deep down, you already know the answer. There's something you've been carrying with you for so long that it's now just a part of your daily routine, like a constant, nagging voice that whispers in your ear before you even open your eyes. It's something you've gotten used to, so much so that you may not even realize how much it's affecting your life. Whether it's the overwhelming stress of your job, the unresolved conflicts in your personal life, or simply feeling stuck in a place you never imagined you'd be, this constant thought follows you each and every morning. If you wake up thinking about this, it's time to make a change. It's easy to brush it off at first. You might tell yourself it's just a bad day or that things will get better. But if this feeling has been creeping into your mornings for months or even years, it's no longer just a passing moment. It's a symptom of something deeper, a sign that your life may be in need of a shift. Consider this for a second. According to a study by the National Institute of Mental Health, nearly 19% of the adult population in the United States struggles with some form of anxiety. That means, when you wake up with that sense of dread, you're not alone. Millions of people are carrying that same weight, and for many, it's become their normal. But what if that doesn't have to be your reality? What if you could make a change? When you find yourself waking up with these thoughts every day, it can be difficult to break the cycle. The problem often lies in the fact that we are creatures of habit. We settle into routines, even if they aren't serving us. You may have heard the phrase, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. But what if you didn't have to keep getting the same result? What if, just by making a change, you could turn your life around? The first step in making that change is recognizing that the current situation isn't sustainable. When you start your day on a negative note, it sets the tone for everything that comes after. It affects your mood, your energy levels, and how you interact with the world around you. A study published by the American Psychological Association found that chronic stress not only affects mental health, but also physical health. People who are consistently stressed are at a higher risk for heart disease, diabetes, and other chronic conditions. This isn't something to ignore. It's a clear sign that your body and mind are telling you something needs to change. But how do you make that change when it feels like everything around you is too overwhelming? It's not always easy to take the first step. In fact, change is often scary, especially for those who are in their later years of life. Many people in their older years find themselves reflecting on the past and wondering if they've missed their chance to create the life they want. The idea of changing your daily habits, career, or even relationships can feel like an insurmountable task. But the truth is, it's never too late. In fact, change can be incredibly liberating, especially when you realize that holding onto the things that drain your energy is more damaging than starting fresh. One of the most important things to remember is that change doesn't have to be drastic. It doesn't require a complete overhaul of your life or some grand gesture. In fact, small adjustments, often ones that seem insignificant, can have the most powerful impact. Let me tell you a story. Imagine waking up every day with that same weight pressing on your chest. Maybe it's a worry about something you can't control, a challenge at work, or an unresolved issue in your personal life. It's a heavy feeling, one that seems to shadow every step you take. But what if I told you that with a simple change, you could shift that feeling into something lighter, something more manageable? It's easy to believe that solving big problems requires big actions. But sometimes, it's the small steps that make the biggest difference. Take Jane, for example. Jane was in her late 60s, and every morning she woke up feeling overwhelmed. The worries about her health, her finances, and even her relationships weighed heavily on her mind. At first, she thought the only way to feel better was to make huge, life-altering decisions. She imagined quitting her job, moving to a different city, or making big financial changes. But the truth was, she was too afraid to make such drastic moves, and her stress only grew. One day, after talking to a friend who had been practicing mindfulness for years, Jane decided to try something different. She didn't change her entire life. Instead, she took a few minutes each morning to simply focus on her breath. She sat quietly in her living room, closed her eyes, and breathed deeply, paying attention to each inhale and exhale. At first, it felt strange, almost like she wasn't doing enough. But over time, Jane began to notice a difference. Her mornings became less chaotic. Instead of waking up in a rush of anxiety, she was able to greet the day with a sense of calm. It wasn't a miracle, but it was a shift, a small change that made a world of difference. Studies support this too. Research shows that practicing mindfulness, even for just a few minutes in the morning, can reduce stress and increase mental clarity. It's a simple practice, but one that can set a more positive tone for the rest of your day. The key here is to remember that change doesn't always have to be monumental. Sometimes, the smallest shifts, like taking a moment to breathe, can have a profound impact on your mental and emotional well-being. You don't need to make radical changes in your life to feel better. You simply need to take a small step toward a more peaceful, centered version of yourself. It's these small adjustments that, over time, add up to a big transformation. Another powerful way to make a change in your life is by reevaluating your priorities. It's easy to fall into the trap of spending most of your energy on work or other stressors, especially as you get older. After all, it can feel like there's always something that demands your attention, something that needs to be done, or something that's weighing heavily on your mind. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, is this really what you want to be focusing on? Is it worth your mental and emotional energy to carry these burdens day in and day out? This isn't just about what feels urgent. It's about considering what truly matters to you and whether your daily life aligns with those values. Take the story of Robert, a man in his late 60s who had spent the better part of his life focused on his career. He worked long hours, rarely took vacations, and constantly thought about how he could climb the corporate ladder. He told himself that he was doing it for his family, for their future. But as the years went by, he found himself growing more distant from his children and missing out on precious moments with his loved ones. His hobbies, which he once enjoyed immensely, were left by the wayside, and his personal growth had stagnated. One day, as he sat alone in his office reflecting on his life, he realized that while his career had given him financial security, it hadn't given him fulfillment. He had sacrificed so much of his time and energy for something that, in the grand scheme of things, mattered less than the relationships he had neglected or the passions he had abandoned. Robert's experience is not unique. Many people, especially as they grow older, look back and regret not spending more time on the things that truly matter to them: family, hobbies, personal growth, and the simple joys of life. But here's the thing, it's not too late to make a change. You don't have to continue down a path that no longer serves you. By shifting your focus, you can create more space for the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. The key is to take a step back and reevaluate where you're directing your energy. Is the stress of work or the pressure of other obligations truly serving you? Or could you find a better balance by investing time in relationships that nurture you, activities that excite you, and moments that bring you peace? For example, Mary, a woman in her early 70s, spent most of her life caring for others. She raised children, supported her spouse, and managed the household. But as she entered retirement, she found herself feeling unfulfilled. Her children had grown and moved away, and her spouse had passed. It was then that she realized how much of her life had been focused on others' needs and how little time she had invested in herself. She had always loved painting but never pursued it because she felt it wasn't a priority. After some reflection, she decided to dedicate an hour each morning to her art. Over time, this small change brought her immense joy and a sense of purpose that she had been missing for years. By reevaluating her priorities and focusing on what made her happy, Mary was able to bring new life to her days. This isn't just a feel-good story. Research shows that engaging in activities that align with your personal interests and passions can improve mental health, reduce stress, and increase overall happiness. When you shift your focus from external pressures to things that bring you joy, your mindset changes. You begin to feel more energized, more connected to what matters most, and more fulfilled in ways that go beyond material success or obligations. So, if you're waking up each day feeling weighed down by stress or regret, it's time to ask yourself, are you focusing on the right things? The answer might just be the key to unlocking a more fulfilling and balanced life. But it's not just about mental focus, it's also about your physical well-being. As we age, our bodies become more susceptible to stress and its negative effects. The impact of poor health, a sedentary lifestyle, or not getting enough rest can compound the feelings of unease that you wake up with each morning. In fact, a study from the Mayo Clinic found that older adults who engage in regular physical activity experience a higher quality of life and better mental health. If you've been neglecting your health, now might be the perfect time to start prioritizing exercise, nutrition, and rest. Even light physical activity, like taking a short walk or stretching each morning, can help you feel more energized and less stressed throughout the day. It's also important to recognize that sometimes, the change you need isn't just about what you're doing, it's about who you're surrounding yourself with. If you wake up every day thinking about the people or situations that drain your energy, it's time to reassess your relationships. Are you spending time with people who lift you up, or are you constantly dealing with toxic, draining individuals? According to a study from the University of California, the people we spend the most time with can significantly impact our well-being. Negative relationships can increase feelings of stress and anxiety, while positive, supportive relationships can improve both our mental and physical health. It may be difficult, but cutting ties with toxic people or seeking out more supportive connections can be a life-changing step. One of the biggest barriers to change that many of us face is fear. Fear can come in many forms: fear of failure, fear of judgment, or even fear of the unknown. These fears often hold us back from making the changes we need in order to move forward in life. The idea of stepping out of our comfort zones can seem intimidating, and the thought of failure or ridicule may cause us to hesitate or even stay stuck. But here's something to consider: the fear of staying stuck is often far worse than the fear of making a change. It's easy to convince yourself that you're better off avoiding the unknown, but in reality, the longer you avoid change, the more stress you're adding to your life. Take the story of Harold, a man in his late 50s who had been working the same job for over 30 years. He was well respected in his field, and his job provided financial security for his family. Yet, deep down, Harold knew he was unhappy. Every day, he woke up with a sense of dread, knowing that his work was no longer fulfilling, but he feared the unknown. The thought of leaving his stable job and venturing into something new felt impossible. What if he failed? What if he was judged for being too old to start over? So, Harold stayed in a job that made him miserable. He thought about making a change for years, but never took that first step. It wasn't until one day, after speaking with a friend, that Harold realized something crucial. His fear of failure and judgment was actually making his situation worse. The more he avoided making a change, the more his stress levels increased. The fear of staying stuck, of continuing to feel miserable, was far more painful than the fear of trying something new. It was then that Harold learned about a fascinating study conducted by the University of Zurich. This research found that the anticipation of an unpleasant event causes more stress than the event itself. In other words, the longer you wait to make a change, the more you're adding to your own stress levels. Harold decided to take a small step. He didn't quit his job immediately, but he started researching new opportunities, taking classes, and speaking with people in the field he was interested in. Each small step he took eased his fear. The more he learned, the less daunting the change seemed. He realized that the anticipation of the change was far worse than the change itself. Over time, Harold made the leap into a new career, and though it wasn't without its challenges, he found a renewed sense of purpose and fulfillment. By taking that first step, even though it was small, Harold eased his fear and made the process of change feel less overwhelming. This story illustrates a key point: fear often holds us back from the very changes we need to move forward. But when we face our fear, take that first step, and move past the anticipation of the unknown, we find that change isn't as terrifying as we once thought. The fear of staying stuck is often far worse than the fear of taking action. By starting small and easing into the process, you can overcome your fear and begin the transformation you've been longing for. It's never easy to break free from old patterns and routines. It takes time, effort, and often a bit of courage to make a lasting change. But the benefits far outweigh the discomfort. When you begin to let go of the things that are weighing you down, you open yourself up to new possibilities. Life becomes less about surviving and more about thriving. It's about waking up each day with a sense of purpose, clarity, and excitement for what's ahead. And yes, this is possible no matter your age. So, if you find yourself waking up every morning thinking about that same burden, challenge, or stress, it's time to take action. Don't let another day go by feeling stuck or overwhelmed. Make a decision today to start small, shift your focus, and prioritize the things that truly matter to you. The change you seek doesn't have to be drastic, but it can be powerful. It's time to embrace the opportunity to create a new chapter for yourself, one that's filled with joy, peace, and a sense of freedom from the things that no longer serve you.